up, Digilogue fam? It's your boy Drew. Hope you guys are staying creative at home during this pandemic. I know it's a challenging time for a lot of people, but here at the Digilogue, we're just trying to keep things creative. As you know, we have a new episode of the L's, aka Lessons Learned. We're about to kick off. This is episode 8. But before we start, I just want to make sure you guys are good. I got our good friend and champion, collaborator, and a guy that I've known for almost 8 years. My boy Quinelle Holder. Q, what up?
Yo, what up, what up, what up?
How you doing, man? How's Virginia? How's the DMV? How's the family? How's Sabrina, the baby?
Oh man. So first and foremost, the baby is great. We just had baby girl. She just had her first birthday party in March. So it's crazy. It feels like time is flying. I feel like I just saw you and she wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, that was last year. We did an event around February, and Sabrina.
It was right before she had Zenith. So Zenith's doing good. Sabrina's great. The DMV as a whole is amazing, man. We have so much talent coming out of there right now, and we got a lot of cool projects. So I'm excited, man. I'm happy to be here, man. I'm happy to even be in a position to really help this area. I mean, there's always the separation when it comes to the DMV and stuff, but I don't separate it. I personally grew up in the 757. So, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Hampton, Portsmouth, Newport, the 7 cities. But once I moved up to Alexandria, Silver Spring at first when Sabrina got her first gig at Sirius XM, man, we've been, DMV since then. And then we moved to Alexandria and we loved it out there. And then now we're up in Fredericksburg, you know what I mean? So I love this area, man. I love DC. I love the culture. And yeah, man, I think it's so crazy that we're having this discussion now because every couple weeks, man, for the DMV area, people go back and forth and they talk about, this part isn't really a part of the DMV and this part and all of that. And I'm like, man, I don't care about none of that. I was like, when you're in New York or when you're in LA, it's the DMV and they're happy for all of us. So I hate the fact that sometimes we do kind of bicker and fight about what's what, man. I gave up that stuff a long time ago. I just want everybody from the area to win, man.
I think that's like the best way to approach it. So everyone isn't necessarily segmented, whether you're from Virginia, Baltimore, DC proper.
Right, exactly.
County, I mean, I'm learning these things when I'm going down there. They're like, don't say that. I was like, okay.
Nah, you be sharp, man. I always love the way that you interact with the cultures and you come in and out. It's like, I mean, you've been coming to DC for a long time though. Like maybe not even in the sense of like, specifically for work stuff or whatever it was, but like you've been coming for a long time. I loved when you really started coming around like a couple years back and you were like, Q, man, you got to show me, you got to tell me what's what and this and that. And look at you now, man. You know what DC proper is. You know the county, this, that. Nova, Northern Virginia. All of this crazy stuff. At the end of the day, you've seen the area. It's amazing, and you got to work with a lot of talent from out here. Notably, Bo. You know what I mean? And look what he's doing.
Shout out.
He's putting on big time for the area right now. With all his, I mean, he's DC to the core. From the go-go to, everything, man. I'm just so glad that, you had the opportunity to work with him. And I'm just glad that he has a platform, a national platform now to put the area on, man.
Yeah, for context, Bo Young Prince he's a DC proper artist.
Yes, sir.
He represents the DMV, DC area.
Yes,
he's
sir.
signed to Def Jam, worked with him when I was at Def Jam. So great personality, one of my favorite artists to work with. Outside of just being an artist, he's a really good person. So he actually called me on my birthday. So I was like, man, you're a real one.
Nah, he really is, man. He been like that since day one. You know, I love that dude. That's why I told you I was so hyped. I'll never forget you text me and said, Q, you know this guy named Bo Young Prince? I said, do I? Hey, that's my guy, man.
Yes, sir. That's our guy. And then just for context too, no, there's no coincidence we're wearing. This is not a Knicks podcast.
Mixtape. Nah.
I'm actually a Knicks fan, and sorry, Brandon's producing this, so he's a Sixers fan. So I'm not gonna. I love all basketball. We miss basketball right now.
Yeah, So I'm a Knicks fan, like, you know, kind of like by default, because even though I grew up in the 757, you know, my family's from New York. You know what I mean? That's actually the reason why, you know, whenever we was running around and hanging in the city and stuff, sometimes I would get a hotel, and then sometimes I would tell you, hey, I'm about to go, you know, kick it with my family and stuff. So yeah, I got family everywhere, from you know, Canarsie to Queens, Jamaica, to upstate, all of that. I think you know, Linden Boulevard, you know, everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been having family in New York for a while, so it's so funny
That's
that
dope.
yeah, you know, so New York Knicks, you know, I always got love. That's on my birth certificate. You feel me? So I gotta rock out.
Respect, man. That's loyalty, because it's been
Yeah,
a
man.
tough years.
Yeah.
um, so aside from that, you know, I want to just kind of introduce you to the community. Maybe before we go into like your history, maybe introduce yourself. You know, you run Medium Creative Agency.
Correct.
You're the founder. Maybe talk a little bit about the agency, and then we can kind of go into, you know, your early influences in music.
Of course. So Medium Creative Agency, I'm the co-founder actually. The other co-founder is my wife, Sabrina Holder. So we run the agency together. Medium Creative Agency was formerly Medium PR Agency, so a lot of people probably a lot more familiar with Medium PR Agency. Yeah, man, we've been doing that proper, you know, for the last, you know, 4 or 5 years, and man, we've gotten to work with everything from, because you got to remember, you're bringing two worlds together. You know, my wife, to me, you know what I'm saying, she is, you know, a legend in her own right, you know, so everything that she's done in radio and photography and all of these other things, we get to bring together for the brand. So between the both of us, I mean, we've done everything. Man, we done worked with festivals, we done everything you can think of, from clothing brands to um, you know, to cover shoots, to photography for your favorite artists, to any type of brand placements. We done put together campaigns. We done put together, I mean, this is everything you name it. I mean, we done things, you know, help artists get music placed on, you know, TV, touring. I mean, we done like, not trying to be funny, but I think we might have almost done everything that you can almost kind of think of in the
Yeah,
entertainment space between the two of us.
I love that. You know, and you know, Sabrina's been amazing. I'm thankful for Sabrina for those 2 pictures that you guys gave
Oh
me.
man.
Jada Kiss picture with him. I think it's like a bottle of Hypnotic.
It's old, unreleased. Yeah. Them joints is
Yeah.
crazy, man. Especially
And then
now that they're coming
Jake
out
picture.
with the new album. Uh,
Yep.
man, yeah, man. Them joints is dope, man. I be mad at Sabrina, man. I'm like, we need way more pictures. Yo, I be going through her role like, why isn't this up? How come we ain't selling this print or doing this or doing that? She got so much stuff. I'm glad that she was able to give that to you, man.
No, I appreciate it. I put a, you know, when I had my office at Def Jam, people were
Mhm.
always asking about it. I
Right.
was like, yeah, these are one-on-ones from
Uh-huh.
Quinelle Holder.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's fire. Man. That's so fire.
Uh,
But
it's
yeah, so
amazing.
yeah, that's you know, that's Medium Creative Agency. Like I said, we started off as a PR agency, but I mean, we've been doing way more than PR for a long time. And just to kind of make sure that we got in a position to just encompass everything else that we're doing and everything else that we have going on, we went on ahead and switched it from a PR agency to the full creative agency, man. So when outside opened back up, you know, y'all gonna really see a lot more different things, you know, moving around as far as the
Love
music
that.
agency side. But yeah, man, that's us in the short right now.
I love that. We'll dive into you being an entrepreneur in a minute, but as far as your upbringing, you mentioned obviously growing up in Virginia. Who were some of your early influences in music? Did you have music in the household? Was there a particular artist that you gravitated to? What got you started?
Man, a lot of music in the household. Both my mom and my dad are big music lovers, big party goers, all of that. When my dad was in New York, his brothers actually used to run with Run DMC. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So music has always been like a big part. I mean, now that clearly that wasn't like it wasn't like no connection type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying it's always kind of been in the essence, you know what I mean? So it's like that's the type of stuff that kind of like lived with us. We always had some music going, always were down to party, the cookouts, to this, to that. Both of my
Yeah.
sides of the family, my mom and my dad's side, they was to get it popping, get it moving there. I mean, I actually found out not too long ago that my grandma who lives in Canarsie, that my cousins grew up with Pop Smoke and them. So it's like they were like right down the block. So it's like just I didn't even know that, you know what I'm saying? And I was out there, every once in a while just visiting it and kicking it. But we always had big music influence, as far as people that I listen to, man. So when you're a kid that family is from New York and New York and North Carolina, y'all know that go together. And Virginia, I was listening to Dipset, G Unit,
Yeah.
Pharrell, Neptunes. We were Missy, we were Timberland. We were Chris Brown, we were Trey Songz. I mean, the joint that's fire is that a lot of these people that I'm talking about, man, they're still relevant. Almost all of them. You know what I'm saying? It's not the Clips anymore, but
Right.
Clips, big shout out to Pusha, Malice. He goes by No Malice now. Sabrina actually used to intern for No Malice. Pusha, which I'll talk about a little later, was somebody that was very instrumental in helping me kind of grow and do my thing. So yeah, man, all of it, man. Like that was the heavy influence, man. And then it was like, what else, man? Man, Wu-Tang, man,
Classic.
yeah, D Block. Oh man, yes, the era, man. The beat, the I always tell people the 106 in Park era, man. That's what I grew up on, man. Smack DVDs, all that, man. That's what I grew up on. MTV, TRL. That's me. You know what I mean? That's the generation I come from.
No, I'm definitely part of that generation for sure. BT 106 in Park.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely watched that after school.
Basement, all that, Shout out Big Tig,
Mhm. Yeah, no, those are obviously great influences. Dipset, New York, all of them. And then while this is happening in your household, you said like there's a huge influence at your crib with your family. Did you, how did you start diving into, like, was it in college? Was it in high school? What kind of started leading you towards like a path towards music? Obviously you're a fan of music,
Right.
but what was like that?
Actually being involved. So this is funny. When I talk about it in interviews, it's always hilarious. But so this is what happened. This is literally how I pivoted. So I think about junior year in high school. And like I said, I always loved music. But then of course, I'm starting, it's like a coming of age. So you start getting to that age where,
Right.
you want to start making a little bit more paper, you start trying to figure out what's my life going to be after high school. Like, what am I really going to do? You know what I mean? Like, I got to start figuring it out. So, like I said,
Right.
I was always a hustler, you know what I'm saying? So at that time, I think I was selling like mixtapes and candy and stuff like that just to kind of get my paper up. But I've been working. I had a job since I was like 14. I was working at Chick-fil-A. Shout out Chick-fil-A, you know what I'm saying? I was working there. So I always had some money in my pocket. Yeah, I always had some money in my pocket and was hustling. But this is where things change. My childhood friend, his name is LA. He
Mhm.
had a birthday party, an 18th birthday party. And now I grew up in Hampton, and me and him both grew up in Hampton, but as we got older, we moved, and he lived through Newport News. He ended up moving to Newport News. So we hadn't seen each other for a while. So we basically middle school was our separation, and then we would spot see each other. So he had an 18th birthday, and this dude had a party, and he had a crew. They were called Hero Villain. And it was a group of these guys. And the crazy part is outside of him, everyone else was from New York and New Jersey. And it was nuts. So you got to remember like what we're wearing around this time. Remember, this is when people start getting back into the skinny jeans. This is where we're wearing the dunks and staple is popping. Remember when that world, the skate and the hip hop world came together. Like exactly.
Yeah.
This is early Supreme. This is Joey Badass. This is all of that, right? And he has a presentation with them, and he presents it, and he's like, yo, it was like whatever, but I was like so locked in because he was like, yeah, this is Hero Villain. It's not just a brand, it's a lifestyle. Everybody say that. It was like he did the whole presentation with like him and the crew. And I was blown away because I was like, oh my gosh, this is my opportunity to actually be a part of something dope. And the first thing that I was like, I know I could do is I can help out on the promo end. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I can just help out on the promo. I said, one thing I'm good at, I was like, is getting people to come together, have fun, have a good time. I was like, I'm good at that. I didn't really have I don't know, man. I always told myself like, I wasn't really somebody that I felt like had a skill per se, but I was always a connector. I could always bring the energy around. You know what I mean? And after that presentation, I talked to him, and I started to hang out. With those guys with him. But I talked to him and said, yo, how can I be a part of this, man? And long story short, he let me be a part of the clothing line, man. And man, that was the beginning of my career, man. I basically took that clothing line and was working with them in the promo stuff, and that's how I actually got into media. And I took that clothing line and I did everything I could do to try to get the clothing line moving. That's when I started a blog called the Red Tag Society, which was based off of Levi jeans.
Yes, I remember that.
You remember that blog?
Yeah. Remember, I think I submitted like music to you.
You did? Oh my gosh, yo. Like, yeah, the crazy thing is, I gotta say this. This is nuts. Yo.
Yeah.
I've been in the game so long. Russ used to send me music and I used to post it on my website.
Crazy.
Like, and that's where my journalism and my media personality stuff came into play, because I was doing all of this just to do the clothing line thing. You know what I'm saying? That was the whole reason why I was doing this. So that was when my life started to change in direction, and I started to go, I'm supposed to be in entertainment. Right. I don't know where all this is going to go, but this is my calling. I'm going to do this. And that set me on the path. And like I said, I kind of transitioned into media personality, blogging, blogger, journalism from that, because I started that blog just to get the clothes off. Because I didn't want to be corny and be like, get an interview with an artist or something and be like, hey man, can you wear my brand? So I switched it up and like, hey, let me set up the interview under the Red Tag Society. So it's like a blog, and then let me tell them that, the interview is sponsored by this brand. And then, let them have the shirt or whatever. It worked, man. I don't know why, but it worked.
I mean, you created the opportunity for yourself.
100%. 100%. 100%. And
it's like, if it's not, you built it, versus, there's like gatekeepers in that respect in terms of blogs and media outlets, but you create your own media outlet. And
yeah, and a lot of the reason why I did it was because I knew I didn't have the experience or the connections to do anything else. So instead of me trying to jump on the bandwagon at that time with everyone else, I said, let me create something first so I can stand on something and people can respect me because I'm putting in my own work. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and that was the time, that was right in the middle of, the new music cartel, you know what I'm saying? So that was the two dope boys and the infos and the Nah Rights and the Mr. Exclusives and you heard that news. and all that. So I modeled that website and then that blog from that. You know what I'm saying? Who would have thought? Fast forward, a lot of those folks is like my peers. Holla at them, you know what I'm saying? And then we working together. So, it's dope, man. It's dope, man, for that stuff to happen, man.
No, I love that. So while this is happening, you're promoting your clothing line.
Right.
You created this blog for yourself. Where does Cornerstone fit in? So Cornerstone is like the marketing arm of Fader, right? And we met at South by Southwest 2011.
Yeah. You were working the beats booth, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working with beats. Yep.
That was so fun. So basically this is how it fits in. So let's talk, right? So clothing line, all of that stuff is cool. I start doing that. So while this is happening, the brand starts building, and it's not just Hero Villain anymore. I'm working on other brands now. I start linking up with one of my mentors who's like my brother now, but my boy Be Free. So we're doing Hero Villain at the same time. We're doing this other brand called Pretty Boys Are Us. And then we had like the female version, it was called Pretty Girls Are Us. And then we were doing another brand called Artista. So I started really getting into the clothes stuff, so much so that we got actually invited. Artista got invited on tour with by Chevy Woods and Wiz Khalifa to be on tour with them. We didn't end up doing it because I'll be telling you a whole different story. But we got the opportunity. My business partner, he didn't check his email, man. So we ended up missing it. But that's how good we were at presentation and moving things around and making things happen. So I was very confident after that I had an idea of what I was doing and how to brand things and how to get the word out on stuff. So fast forward, all of that's working. The place that we were going to get popping was Richmond. Richmond was the spot. Now, of course, Virginia Beach was the spot, and there was a lot of stuff going on there. This is early, like oh man, I can't remember the name of the crew. This is man, I don't remember the name of the crew. It was like the Rebels something. Man, I'm so mad I don't name of the crew. They're a real popular crew, but this is where Gabe Niles comes from, Sonny and Gabe. This is where Sed Hughes comes from. This is where Dram comes from. Like all of that type of stuff came from that energy. So we would deal with them, but Richmond is where I feel like I made my name and where everyone started respecting me because they had this real big infrastructure in Richmond as far as the music scene and fashion and culture. I mean, Richmond's always been heavy in culture. This is where I get to meet people like Radio B, and I get to meet the Michael Millions of the world. I get to meet, the Nicholas F's. I get to meet all of these people. And man, when I tell you, around this time, surprise, surprise, Sabrina had a blog. Sabrina had the blog, and I was doing the clothes. And I got asked to get interviewed. Well, not me, actually. LA got asked to get interviewed for her blog, but LA couldn't do it, so he let me do the interview on behalf of the clothing line. And Sabrina didn't physically do the interview either. She had one of her writers or something do the interview, and that's how I got hip to Sabrina. And I want to say a couple months after that, man, Tabby Benet, infamous Tabby Benet concert in Richmond. You know what I mean? And that's where we met. And, rest is history from there. You know what I mean? But Tabby Benet, man, concert in Richmond. But around that time, going to Richmond, man, it was a spot called The Camel up there. And we used to just be working. And that's where the presence grew. But I said all that to say that's how the brand grew. That's when I started getting more involved in different things. And then that's when I met Sabrina. Yeah. So fast forward, we're working together, just doing business stuff. Fast forward, we become friends. We start dating. And I move out on my own. And then after I move out on my own, I'm in between spaces. So I go and kick it with Sabrina up at ODU. She's enrolled in Old Dominion University. And
gotcha.
That in that dorm room is where my boy Tristan Lewis, we call him T. Lou, that's my boy Brian, one of my boy Brian's friends. He sent me a link from Hype Beast Jobs, and it was the Cornerstone farm team link. And I read up on it. I said, wait, what is this? And he said, I think this is something you should do. I said, how can I do this? At the time, I was a college dropout. So I went to Thomas Nelson Community College, but I dropped out. And I dropped out to, this is going to sound nuts. Well, it sounds regular, really, typical story, Kanye, college dropout story. But I basically dropped out of college because I had prepaid for my community college. And I was already working at UPS as soon as I graduated out of high school. And when I was going to I was working UPS and going to school full time. It was too much. So I just was like, you know what? I already paid for school. It ain't like I could be in debt. I was like, I'm just going to focus on, the grind. You know what I'm saying? So again, like I'm in the dorm room, my friend sends me the link and they say, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is dope, but it says I have to be in college. I'm not in college, but I filled the application out. Sabrina encouraged me. Tristan encouraged me. He was like, bro, you still need to fill it out. This is for you. It was so crazy now that I'm thinking about it. He really said, this is for you. And I'm like, how do you know this is for me? And I put my little application in. I didn't think nothing of it. A week later, Joe Cap, shout out Joe Cap. He called me, man, and said, yo, Q, I'm looking at your resume. I'm looking at all this crazy stuff. By this time, we had interviews, early interviews, Kendrick Lamar, ASAP Rocky, all of this stuff. And he straight up was like, yo, I'm looking at your resume. I'm looking at this stuff. He said, how do you even know who Kendrick Lamar is? Because you got to remember, this is early Kendrick. Like, Top Dog's bringing him around, but this is J-Rock. J-Rock's the top guy at Top Dog. I'm a kid from Virginia. I shouldn't even be concerned with no Kendrick Lamar right now. You see what I'm saying? And he said, how do you know about this guy? And I told him, I gave Sabrina the credit. I said, man, my girl put me on it. She said she think I would like it. I think it was Section 80. She said, I think you would like it. And then that's when, we got the opportunity at HU's homecoming to do an interview and, a whole bunch of other stuff. And Joe was like, well, look, you got access to a campus? I said, I live on the campus. I live in my girl's dorm right now, man. He said, well, as long as you got access to college campuses, we with it. And that was it, bro. Like, that's the day, man, that I got my little okay. And, the first thing I did was came and met you. That was the first thing I ever did. When I was there, that's the first time I ever did anything.
Really?
That was the first. I wasn't even supposed to be on a trip. I guess Joe was so impressed by my little application that he let me go on the trip. That's the first thing I ever did with Cornerstone. And as I got older, I learned that they don't ever do that. Like, they make you do smaller stuff in your market and all this other stuff. They didn't make me, man. That was the first thing I did. And I met a lot of important people, but I met two very important people. And one of them, of course, is you. And the other one is Darius Davey, Sonny D. Matter of fact, shout out, congrats to him. Him and his girl just got engaged. I met you guys there. Like, that was the first time. And the funny thing is, that was my first thing with Fader. It was his last thing. He had just got a job at Cinematic. And he's the person that put me on to Joey Badass in that room and said, there's a crew called Pro Era. They're about to pop. Johnny Shipes' new artist. He was like, and that's where I'm at. That's my new gig, man. He said, this is going to be my last time doing something with Fader. And that was the first time I got to meet you. And, man, like I said, man, can't believe it. It's been 8 years, man. It's been 8 years, bro.
Crazy. So it's crazy. I mean, I remember we were working on there's some notable acts. I think Odd Future was, one of the headliners.
100%. Oh my gosh, you trying to get me to remember the headliners? Oh, you killing me right now, bro. Oof.
Was it MGK? Was MGK? Did he get
MGK
signed?
was the MGK.
Gosh.
You know who was really big? Danny Brown. Danny Brown was big. Man, that was a dope time. Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
Yes.
That was amazing, man.
Yeah. Do you remember going to that 50 Eminem concert? Were you there for that at the Austin City Hall? I think you were with us. Were
I
you
feel
with
like I
us?
was with y'all. I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I was smacked, bro, the whole time, son. I just remember always making sure I saw you or saw somebody, or I was with the right little crew. You know, we was
Yeah.
running around. That was my biggest thing. Man, am I bugging or didn't I meet Jess? Didn't I meet Jess down there that same year too? Wasn't Jess down
Ja-
there?
uh, well, Jade from
I
Beats by
remember
Dre.
I remember Jade.
Yes.
I remember Jade for sure. Yeah, man, I don't know. It was so much. I feel like I was there though, but I ain't gonna lie. I feel like I'm gonna say I wasn't, because how could I not remember everything about it? But again, it was
Yeah.
definitely it was one it was so nice, man. Like,
No, I mean it was a fun time. Remember
yeah, of course.
Jason, obviously. Shout out to Jason.
Big shout
He's
out
my
to Jason, man.
connect cornerstone.
Wow.
But yeah, shortly after that, obviously I had my own management company. I was managing
Mhm.
artists, and then I think at the time you were like also writing for like hip hop since 1987. So
Exactly. Yep. That
yep.
was what I made. I think, man, Hip Hop's in 1987 was my official, that was
Mhm.
my first official, like, I'm in the game now. Like, I think I went from like a blogger. I started to transition from blogger to journalism at that time. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Hip Hop since 1987. Um,
Brandon, yep.
yeah, man. I went in on that. Brandon gave me the best opportunity in the world, and shout out to Sabrina for that, because Sabrina was actually the one who would go up to Richmond or DC at the time and get the interviews for us for the Red Tag Society, and he saw her and he said, yo, what brand do you work with? And she said, the Red Tag Society. And we had done enough work to where he recognized, he said, I heard of that before. He said, yo, let's exchange contact information. And she came back. I said,
Mhm.
yo, you got Brandon from Hip Hop since 1987 information? I said, oh my God, I love that site, man. She said, he gave me his contact information and said, hit him up. Because he was like, is this your site? She said, no, this
Mhm.
is my boyfriend's site. He was like, yo, tell him
Mhm.
hit me up. And I hit him up. And yo, that man, he changed my life, bro. Brandon taught me so much. He taught me
Mhm.
so much, man. And he plugged me in with so many direct connections, from Karen Civil to Nipsey Hussle to I mean, honestly, really everyone. Mikey Fresh. I got all my start came from hip hop since 1987 in that sense, as far as that blogging. And from there, man, I was able to move forward and jump into some other things. I think from there, I went and I wrote for everybody from, It's Biscuit to, I wrote for D Dot. I wrote for, I don't know if you know Sinead Curry. I wrote for her site. I wrote for Deal or No Deal. I wrote
Yep.
for, oh my gosh. It felt like I wrote for I was everywhere, man. I wrote for everywhere. And then I think the last thing that I really did on a journalism tip was oh man, shout out my boy Mikhail Clark. I wrote for Artistic Manifesto. Um
Mm.
yeah, man. I think the last thing I did in that capacity was Miss Info, man. Like we were just talking.
Yeah.
I I came in the middle of New Music Cartel right before it was no more. I got to come in. Shout out Mikey Fresh. He gave the
Mikey
kid
Fresh, yeah.
the rock, and I got to be the music editor over there, and I loved it, man. Shout out Minya, shout out Miss Info. Like, yo, y'all really again changed my life, plugged me into history. Like, I get to say like I was a part of New Music Cartel. Like I get to say like I was a part of that legacy, man. That don't even
Mhm.
exist no more. It's over for that. You know what I'm saying? Like that was crazy. And even though I caught the telltale end of it, man, just
Yeah.
being there, was amazing, man. And like I said, I gotta give Brandon all the props for putting me in the game, man.
It says a lot about your character, for about the people that you paid it forward, you give homage to, and all the people that you've met along the way. And
Absolutely.
it says a lot about you. We obviously have still a great relationship 8 years later.
Yeah,
Um, and it says, how it was never been about just doing things or collaborating, but also just having a genuine friendship throughout the process. And it's great to like kind of see all of us really come up you know, through time and really impact music culture the way that we're doing now. I love seeing
Yeah,
that.
man. It's a blessing for us to even be able to still be here, man, because there's so many people that just from Cornerstone, man, that we came up with
Mhm.
that they don't do music anymore, man. It was cool then. It was
Mhm.
the internship. It was the job, and it never went further. So I just thank God that we were able to actually stick in it, and we were working through it. Like I said, you were there
Right.
on behalf of Beats, and you were doing stuff for
Yeah.
Apple Beats. And at that time, while I was doing this blog stuff, I was doing odd jobs too, man. I was working, I worked at a little chicken spot. I was doing a call center. Like, it took a minute, man. I ain't gonna sit up here in front, like, we jumped right in there. Like, nah, man, there's some ups and downs for sure, man.
We're like, what? Why do you love this music thing so much?
Right, you start really asking yourself, man. Shoot, I saw man, speaking of that, didn't we reconnect because I saw Jade at the Apple store when I was co-managing IDK. It was when Sway went to talk, and I seen Jade, and I think
Yeah, yeah.
and I was asking her about you. I was like, yo. She was like, nah, Drew. She was like, Drew's not here or whatever, but I think she gave me your contact.
Yeah, yeah.
Contact, and we reconnected. But that's all from, it's crazy, man. All from, Cornerstone. Like, we was in Texas, and what are the odds? I'm walking around, messing around, and running around the city with Jay, and boom, I run into her, and I'm in your store. I didn't even know that was your store, bro. That was crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out to those headphones, man. You sent me a couple pair, man. I
Yeah,
needed
for
those.
sure.
I was on my last leg, man.
No one knows about the discount. we got,
No,
we got we got a serious discount. So shout out to my discount
shout out to you being a
on that.
visionary and person that really respects relationships. Yo, for a lot of people, they would have used that discount and just bought stuff for them and kept it moving.
Mhm.
You utilized your position to continue to build relationships. Bro, that stuck with me forever. There wasn't a lot of people giving me stuff, bro, back then. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even gonna lie to you. That might have been one of the most expensive. That might have been the most expensive thing I had, bro. I was I was going through it, and that quality was so good. To keep it
Yeah.
connected with you, when I got down bad, and I was living in downtown Newport News, they
Mhm.
call it bad news down there, and I
Mhm.
was really down on my luck. When I was going to the call center, I used to have a ride my bike up to work, to the call center, like on the highway basically.
Mhm.
And those are the beats that I had. And I was listening to Good Kid, Mad City. I was listening to Action Bronson, Rare Chandeliers. I was listening to Currency
Great.
and Rowdy, three-piece set. I was listening, like, this is the music that I had,
Yeah.
in my head. And it was all because, you gave me them headphones, man. Like, you was saving my life, bro. Cause it was days I didn't have no motivation, bro. If I ain't had no music in my ears, bro, I was gonna go crazy, man. I didn't know what was going on. So thank you
Yeah.
for that, man. You might have saw it as something small, but
Mhm.
that was huge in my life, man. I tell people all the time, that time frame, that music, man, it saved my life, man, because that and God, the
Mhm.
Sabrina, without that stuff, man, I would have went crazy, man, because I definitely was going through depression, and I didn't even know what depression was because I
Mhm.
never had been there. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate you, man, just, man, taking that time and saying, hey, Q, man, what's your address, man? I'm gonna send you some, headphones, man. You think it was small? That joint was carrying me through, man.
No, I appreciate it. I don't know what it was. I think, um, I realized that I had something to offer, and then
Mm-hmm.
also you helped me with my artist. So I think the little token of just like,
It was easy,
hey
man.
man, that little post meant a lot,
Right.
and it meant a lot for the artist. So it's one of those things where relationship management, I learned over time, it's about just helping, seeding things out, giving little gifts here and there.
Like, I'm gonna be honest. I hope a lot of people, when they check this out, I think they should just hear what we're saying and understand and learn that, bro, this stuff matters. I definitely, just real quick, and I know we'll talk about my PR stuff in a second, but I really wanted to say that this is one of the reasons why me and you are able to have the relationships we have. We
Mm-hmm.
take the time to think about that type of stuff. Like,
Yeah, sure.
I told you for a fact, you know, not even trying to be funny, and I ain't trying to put you on blast, bro. You can't ask me for nothing, and I'm not going to do it. You know, I tell you that every time, and I'm dead serious. You know what I'm saying? And it's all because of the way that you maintain relationships, man. I make sure that I do things and I strive, and I sometimes even take your lead and see some of the things that you do and remind myself, yo, people are people. If you don't treat them right, they're not, just because they're not there now or they don't at this position, you don't know where they're going to end up. You know what I'm saying? We're in positions now where we got so many friends that are in the industry and do this and do that, and we're in position in ourselves
Right.
where it's like, imagine those people that slighted us or played us to the side. Some of them got a chance to redeem themselves, but some of them, it's etched in our brain like, nah, opportunities come, I ain't passing
For
it to
sure.
you. I'm not. I'm just being honest. Just because
Yeah.
you couldn't see any of the potential. And like you said, you've been somebody who you know how to see potential and see relationships. You know, I always really admire our relationship also too, because culturally there's a lot of different things about us, but we always leaned on the things that we had in common. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like
Right.
in hip hop and in the industry, when you tap into that level, that's when you evolve. That's when a few years later, little favors and stuff that we doing for each other while we both working 9 to 5s turn into, hey Q, man, I got a budget for you, man. You got somebody that can record or do this photography or do that?
Right.
Or I'm like, hey Drew, man, I got this conference coming up, man. Can you come help me out? Or did it like, bro, we able to do that type of stuff, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and it's nothing, and we only would be able to do it if we maintain the relationships that we did. You know what I'm saying? So I that's why I said I just wanted to put that out there and let people know maintaining relationships is important, especially for me as
Yes.
my trade being a publicist. Boy, people ask all the time, how are you still able to get this post or get this person up to this radio station or at this, like nobody's able to. And I'm like, do you check up? Like you just said, Bo Young Prince, hey Drew, happy birthday. You don't even work at the label where he's at no more, and he's still doing that. It was bigger than the label. You don't know where he's going to be. What if he decides to go somewhere else? What if he decides to come over there? You're going to be like, this is my guy. I genuinely can vouch for him. Had he not kept those relationships going, you ain't going to do that. Because guess what? There's a lot of artists on that Def Jam roster that got your number and was calling you and begging you for favors, but they couldn't tell you happy birthday. You think about stuff like that. It's true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, it is true. Now the relationship aspect is, I always stress, is probably like the most important thing in your career. And there's a lot of people that may obviously, climb in their career, whether it's like through nepotism or through, personal agendas and like things that they do to cut people off. But we know that things kind of come around and go around. So regardless, if that person's an intern, treating everyone the same and then maintaining it through the years, and generally just checking up on people, like, not starting out like, hey, sending me a link of music and I'm like, I haven't spoken to you.
Right. How about a hello? How about a something like, yeah, man, check this out.
Cool.
Yeah, what do you want me to do? Do you even know what I do? That was another thing too. We were very good at knowing what each other did.
Right.
That was another thing. We cared about people's positions. Like, I like how you said that. You said it's not always about what their position is, whether they're intern, whether they're this. You genuinely build relationships and know what someone does. Why are they sending you a link when you already manage artists, and the job that you do have and what you were doing was not a job where them sending you a link was going to do something? What does that have to do with what I do? I'm not an A&R. Don't send me a link. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I don't have, like, I mean, and on your personal time, you're like, if we got a relationship, I'll check the music out. But other than that, like, what do you want me to do right now? You know what I mean? And like you said, just that genuine relationship allows it to happen. Man, I used to love when you used to send me music or say, check this out or do this or that, because we had a genuine relationship. It was easy. Hey, man, can you get some love on this? Can you do this or whatever? I'll be like, of course. Like, I got that drink for you tomorrow. And it was actually good music. That was another thing. Have a good product. You weren't sitting up there sending me some trash and talking about, hey, Q, man, just as a favor, man, can you give me some love on this? Putting my job in jeopardy. You never did that. You never did it.
No, I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that. No, that's super important to recognize. I think you touched on a lot of great things. I think the biggest thing is maintaining relationship. Through your careers, from like being a writer, kind of pivoting your role. Let's kind of jumpstart. Fast forward to how you co-founded, Medium, and what was that process like?
Man, great question. I'm gonna try to tell you the short version and then stretch out whatever matters. The shortest version of that is I was having a lot of great success with journalism, as far as building out my brand and different things like that, particularly with, of course, hip hop since 1987. I think around the time when I really started to pivot, I think I also was writing for Karen Civil and where was I at? I think I was at Karen Civil and D-Dot Omen at the time. Shout out D-Dot. Yo, when I tell you D-Dot that taught me so much stuff. As much as people try to give him a hard time and they say he's wild and he's this and that, D-Dot is the person that gave me a lot of my independent flair, because his I don't give a F attitude is what allowed me to move forward in the industry. As you can see, he ain't hurting today. He wasn't hurting then. He ain't going to be hurting in the future, because at the end of the day, he bet on himself. So when I was over there writing for his site, he taught me a whole lot of stuff, especially about being independent. But I was over there, I think at Karen, was doing some stuff with Karen. And then I think I was at the final leg of my time at hip hop since 1987. And the reason why I think I really stepped away from hip hop since 1987, at the time I was working with an artist. He actually was a recording artist, but he's actually a producer now. He goes by the name of Mason Taylor. He's a pretty big producer. He worked on some stuff for Drake's Top Boy album, and I think he just recently did like what was it? Was it a Prada, Gucci, one of them brands? He just did a commercial for them. Like, he does a whole bunch of stuff. Like, he's a real big producer, especially even on YouTube. Like, I think he just got his plaque for subscribers. I think he's got 50,000 plaque subscribers. But I said all that to say there was an indie label in DC. This is where I kind of transitioned into music exec. I was around this time I was still doing PR stuff, but I didn't have Medium just per se just yet. And it was at the last leg. And I started getting to a point to where, I'm gonna just be honest, man, I wanted to provide more financially for Sabrina, for our family. And I also think I was getting a little bit fed up with the whole being a writer thing. And then the way and the culture of how it was happening. And that's why you see a lot of people complaining about it now. It's kind of been the same for a while. But for me, I was one of those people, like, I'm not gonna complain about it. I was like, I'm gonna figure it out. So while this is happening, I went from journalism to PR because of the fact that I said, I have relationships, I can write, I can blog, my other friends write these other sites. If the music is dope, why can't I send it to them? And that's really how that's the idea of how it happened. I didn't even know it was called PR. I just thought it was helping my friend. And I was just doing this for free. And I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, this is a thing. Like, people get paid for this. So I was like, I like this. And I'm not going to lie. I had a couple situations where there was a conflict of interest. I mean, look, you read my bio right now. It says journalist, publicist, and entrepreneur. Journalists and publicists are never supposed to be in the same boat. They say that's a conflict of interest. I'm somebody that ended up clearly doing it very well. My whole thing was this. At the end of the day, I wanted to help artists more. I wanted to help them more than just my one contribution on a website. I wanted to be able to help them in a wider range and a wider capacity and utilize my relationships. And that is where essentially Medium PR agency, the idea, and me really going into full-fledged PR was born. Really always got to give the credit where it's due. that's where I really started working hard body with Young Money Yon. Yon is the reason why I really got my name out in the PR circuit. And then attached to Yon, of course, his right hand man was Pusha T. So being able to do stuff with Yon, and then I even got a couple interviews done with Pusha T. It changed me from being somebody that was dope blogger from hip hop since 1987 now to somebody that's instrumental in helping people build their careers out. And that is where the transition happened. And let me not jump too crazy, but just to get to the point, when I was talking about Mason Taylor, was that indie label. It was called IMG. It's called iCore Music Group, and it was distributed by Warner Music or Warner 88. And when he signed his record deal, shout out my boy B. They brought me into the meeting, and they were just going to let me work, do the PR stuff, but they ended up making me the head of marketing for the label. And they actually had, this is the coolest story ever. They had an office space that was across the street from the Fillmore in Silver Spring. Now, you know the Fillmore because you done been there a million times for shows and stuff. But my office, that it was across the street. So when you look across the street and you saw that big office on the top thing, that's where my office was. And I had and we had the best office in the, like me personally, I had the best office in the building. Like me and my boy Jay Dixon. And this is all, and that's why I'm telling you, bro, it's all God, bro. So I got to do that. And I was over there for maybe, I don't even know how long it was. It was sometime between 6 months to a year or whatever. It was amazing. The bread was good. That's actually, we moved, that's when we were in Silver Spring. And that's around the time I actually met IDK, because Sabrina was working at SiriusXM part-time, and she was working at a spot called Sports Zone, which out here is like a Foot Locker or whatever, part-time as well. She was working at corporate at Sports Zone, and she was working at SiriusXM part-time. And she did this event at SiriusXM, and there is where I met IDK. And he immediately knew who I was and said, "Hey, you're cute from, Hip Hop since 1987." And I was like, okay, I didn't really know him like that, but he was telling me who he is, and I remembered him. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I got his number, and he ended up coming by the house like a week or two later, and he played me the stems, basically the skeleton of Subtrap. And from that point on, man, we started working in the PR aspect. And fast forward, I ended up co-managing them, and rest is history. But that was a pivotal place in my career, because that is when I started to realize I really can't be boxed. So you could call me a media personality, call me a blogger, but I was an exec. I was a publicist. I was a manager. Like I said, I was wearing so many hats. It was almost hard for me to say what it was without sounding like a jack of all trades, master of none. But I really was doing all of the stuff at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And yeah, man. So after that happened, and I kind of stepped away from the after that happened, and I kind of stepped away from the label situation. What came after that? Man, what did come after that? I'm sitting up here. I'm literally got my LinkedIn open, because I done did so much stuff. I don't even remember half of this stuff. After that, after that, after that was, when I was working with IDK, that's when I started working with Bia as well. I was also working with shout out to Bia too, man. I love her and Russ. Shout out to Bia. I love what they're doing, man. Shout out on the new plaque. I know as soon as Outside opens up, they're gonna be on tour. Shout out to them. Both of them have been working hard for a long, long time. I was working with Bia. I was working with IDK. I was working with an artist named Clay James. He used to be signed to Snoop. He's actually back out right now. He's moving a lot. He has his own label now. He's doing his thing. Nice. I was working with him. I was working with Chew Jackson, who was Mac Miller's artist. And then I was the beginning of me working with Designer around the time. This is pre-label, pre all of that. So shout out my boy D-Rock, you know, for connecting me with his manager, Xana Ray, at the time. And yeah, man, so that was the next thing. And then, you know, when it came to, you know, D and all of that, you know, we basically, you know, that's when I jumped in on that project. PR, you know, everybody knows the story about that. I don't really got to jump into that.
Yeah.
That did his thing. And yeah, man, that's when I stopped working with him, that it was New Year's. I think it was what is it officially now? What, like 2 or 3 years ago now? I can't even remember.
Yeah.
Two or 3 years ago, it was New Year's. This is so fire. Oh my God. This is a fire story because of this. That New Year's, also the New Year's where I met and bumped into Lunch Money Lewis. We didn't do anything, but fast forward, I work with Lunch Money Lewis, and I do a lot of PR stuff with him and his label.
Wow.
And I love Lunch Money Lewis. And if you don't know who he is, that's listening to this, you need to go look him up. He's an amazing artist, but he also is a songwriter and producer. His pen is amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like from Nicki to Doja Cat to, I don't know. I can't even just.
Maroon 5.
Come on, Maroon. Oh my God, Backstreet Boys. I don't even know.
Yep.
Everybody, like, this dude is a legend. You know, shout out to Lunch. You know I got love for him. But I just had to say that really quick. But that year, when we came back from that, me and Sabrina had a great time for New Year's. And I said, yo, we're on top right now. I think Designer, I think we were just, yeah, around that. If it was New Year's, that means we already were nominated for the Grammy. Yeah, if it was New Year's. He already had got it nominated for the Grammy. We were on top. So all the accolades had came, number one record in the country, number one record in the world, number one record on Billboard, number one, everything. All the accolades, whatever you get, we got it. You know, it was either a nomination or we won it, whatever it was. And me and Sabrina looked at each other and we said, he's on top. He is the thing that we're connected to right now. So we have other artists. Everyone else is doing well. Like I said, Bia, Clay, Chew, all of this stuff. I said, this is the time where we need to really jump into the agency. And we came home that New Year's. We came back from, I think it was in Florida. And that next week, we started looking for office space. And I think maybe a month later, we got our first office space in Crystal City. And, oh, wait, you know, because that's what we did. All right, yeah, you already know that. Well, you know the office space, but that's where we did our first, we got our first office space, you know, shout out WeWork. And, you know, the rest was history from there. That is when Medium PR Agency officially became an official thing. And I always got to give Sabrina her credit because Sabrina was the one that pushed us for it to be legitimate. She's the one that pushed us to make sure all the paperwork was right, all the tax information was right, and to go get a real office space and really do it. And we did, man. And that's how Medium Creative Agency was born. You know what I'm saying? Now, I mean, Medium PR Agency, now Medium Creative Agency. But yeah, bro. So yeah, bro. It was a crazy journey, man.
Yeah. No, I love hearing that just because, you know, it wasn't something that happened overnight. You know, you built a track record for yourself. A lot of people have to recognize that too. Like, you know, it's like kind of hitting your stride, right? Mm-hmm. You know, I think looking at this as a marathon and really getting a place where like you find your pace, things become easier. You kind of see the playing field more. It's like, you know, things slow down for you, right? You kind of see how things are working.
I'm gonna tell you that key part was the pivot, and I've been very good at this. And this is, I just got to give all the credit to God, man, and, you know, Sabrina for kind of like reiterating it. One thing I've learned in this business, in the music industry, is you're going to be hot. No matter how hot you get, you always got to come down. Not saying you won't come back up, but one thing we've been good at is pivoting on top. That's why a lot of people always say, Q, you always working on the next hot thing, because I pivot at the top. I don't pivot on the downfall. I pivot on the top. We came right back from New Year's and said, as dope as D is and everything that's going on with this is going on, this is about Medium PR Agency. For him, this is about his career. for us, we have an agency, we have a brand to build. So if we're on top, let's build these pieces now while we can show and prove. Because technically, the way that I looked at it, and that's the way it worked, is that it doesn't matter how dope all these other agencies were and people that were involved in whatever they did. We got to mess with D first. So if he's the number one artist, we the number one agency. And that's the way that we got to ride it. And I'm like, if we on top, let's build out some of these other artists' career. You know what I'm saying? Let's help them. And that's what we did. And that's why I want to tell people, yo, pivot at on the top, bro. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop pivoting. I mean, shoot, Drew, you done mastered that. You feel me? Like, let's keep it all the way 1,000, bro. Like, when you didn't leave, when you made a decision to leave Def Jam, you left it on top as far as the best position that it could be. You didn't do no weak move and be like, oh, they going down here or they ain't doing nothing, so I'm gonna just dip. No, you said everything that's in my power. Let me help Danny Lay. Let me help this one, that one, all of these different people. And I respect you for that, because nobody can say nothing bad about you because you left when it was still in good health. You feel what I'm saying? That's what you do. That's why people respect you. And that's why I want to make sure people that's listening to this remember that is how you build the brand. Because if you mess around and start trying to leave and backtrack, and then something ends up is going down and it's falling apart, now you look like you was running when the shit wasn't together. That's corny. And if that's the case, why do I want you over here on my team? We don't want you. We don't want you. If we the winning team, you know what I'm saying, and we don't want you on our team because you was on a losing team, and now we want to pick you up for what? You know what I'm saying? I wanted to see what you was doing, you know, when it was there. So I want to say that too. Like, I want people to realize that's what you do, man. The music industry is always going to pivot. It doesn't matter if you're working with the top artists in the world. One day they are not going to be that.
100%.
And when they're not, what do you have? You know what I'm saying? What's next? What else is in your repertoire? Did you put all your eggs in one basket and you ain't got nothing else to look at? And that's how you get stagnant, and that's how you end up not having a job.
100%. I mean, you better hit the nail in the coffin in a sense where, like, when it comes to just being at a point of success, not being complacent and understanding that things will change, making the next pivot and next opportunity and taking advantage of it, and not being afraid to try something new. You know, and I think that speaks volumes about what you've been able to do in your career, particularly of all the different pivots you've had, from starting your clothing line to building your blog around it, you know, typing in that link for Cornerstone.
Come on, man.
To building your relationships through the blogosphere and writing for Hip Hop Night since 1987, to working with the independent label, to managing IDK, to creating the opportunity to pivot from that into creating the Medium agency. And then, yeah, man, this is evolution, right? 100%. It's not like you did one thing and that was it. And that says a lot about you.
And I'm thankful too that I wasn't the type of person that was like, I don't do that, so I just let it fly. Like, you know how some people just be like, well, yeah, that's an opportunity, but I don't do that. Like, bro, what was I doing as the head of marketing? What did I even know about marketing, really? But the opportunity was there, and I tackled it. And I learned so much, and it helped me with the agency. Even when the tour managing opportunity came, you know, with D, bro, I easily could have been like, nah, you know what I'm saying? Like, that happened when I was like, bro, I was like 25. Like, I lived a little bit, like, not trying to be funny, but I wasn't in a place, like, I had just got married. I really wasn't in a place to be, now I want to be a tour manager. You feel me? Like, yo, I'm so glad I did it, though, because I learned so much and I built so many connections that I still use to this day.
Yes.
But I'm just glad I didn't close myself off and say, I don't do that. I'm glad I did everything, because even if I don't physically do it now, when I'm helping artists, and now that we have an agency, you know, and now that I work in different capacities and help out different labels and stuff, I have real insight because I've actually done it. Not just talking about it, I actually know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Whether I did it very well or I did it very bad, at the time, I learned whatever it was and I fixed and adjusted that to be able to be in the position that I'm in now. And I'm just thankful for it. And I want to tell other people too, if it's an opportunity out there and it's a possibility that you could advance in your career, don't always just say no because quote unquote, you don't do that, or you don't know what the end's going to be. You're talking to somebody who thought I was going to be the next Damon John, you know, with FUBU, with
Don't limit yourself.
I don't even do like, and I still do branded stuff, but I'm saying I thought I was going to be all in streetwear, fashion, and all that stuff, and that's not even where I ended up. I'm way further than that. But just imagine if I would have boxed myself in and said, I don't care about those other opportunities. I just want to do this. You know what I'm saying?
No, I think it's important, especially for like a lot of the young folks that are watching. You know, don't get caught up in the idea of I want to be an A&R and that's all. I think I think it's important to learn all aspects of the business and really kind of looking at everything and approaching it from a holistic standpoint, 360, and understanding how all the things kind of fit together and how they work. This way you can speak to things, whether, you know, you're managing an artist or you're talking about streaming and, you know, you're talking about blogs and, you know, it's not just knowing one segment of the industry, but understanding everything as a whole. So no, I think that's super important. And you've been able to do that with your experience, and the approach of like not being limited or being boxed in has always been in you. So I love highlighting that. So, you know, we got to hear your journey. And this is the point where we're starting to wrap up. Every L's episode, lessons learned, we talk about one huge lessons learned. What's one lessons learned that you'd like to, you know, kind of just add based off your experience to the rest of the Digilogue community?
Oh man. I just think, I think for me personally, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over the years is treat everybody with respect. Don't count anybody out because you don't know who somebody gonna be.
Yes.
The moment you start counting people out, oh my gosh. Oh man, it's a bad, and don't get it twisted. I'm not talking about people that you know, if there's somebody that you know, mentally or physically or emotionally, you know, has abused you or drained you or something like that. I'm not talking about those people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you counting people out in the sense of having an air or having an elitist mind state of going, that person can't help me, because the reason why me and Drew know each other is because humbly we accepted those positions to be me, you know, to him, and us being at Cornerstone and accepting those opportunities, you know what I'm saying? That changed everything. And I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I thought that was the best stuff, and that was the best place to be in the world. I never knew that in my like years later, I would be able to tap and call in on some of those people, and they would be in positions to really help me. Like I said, when I met Darius, man, I didn't know that a year later, 2 years later, I would be at the cinematic office and he was sending me back home to Virginia with a box of Smoker Club merch and this and that and all this. I didn't know you were gonna fast forward and, you know, have your own be working with, you know, Def Jam at the time, or have your own Digilogue brand. I told you, you know, off the chat, I was running around with Dolly Voodoo, which is crazy because I actually just had a talk with him, so we'd probably be working with him again. But I was with Dolly Voodoo on a press run. We had just went. I think we were supposed to go see Saint that day, but we couldn't because he was doing that. And then we actually went to go see him at Republic the next day. But then I run into you at the door, and I'm like, "Yo, what the heck?" And you're like, "Q, this is my joint." And I'm like, "Nah, man, get out of here." You're like, "Yeah." And then the blessing of not even just us connecting like that and you making sure, you know, me and Sabrina and Dolly and his boy was good. But the next thing that you did was, as the company grew and you decided to do something in DC, you called on me and you gave me an opportunity to do that. And that was such a blessing, man. And I'm so thankful, man, you allowed me to do that. And that's what I mean when I say don't count nobody out. Me and you didn't count each other out. and we're in a position to help each other these days. And that's what I love. That's a genuine relationship. Anybody that you don't ever do that. And I'm not talking about you got to do everything with them. You got to, treat them like they're God. What I'm saying is treat people the way you would want to be treated and never count them out and keep them in your network and keep them in your repertoire. And don't be too cool to follow somebody back, and don't be too cool to add them on LinkedIn, and don't be too cool to send them an email or a text and just say, hey, man, just checking in on you. You good? And be genuine about it, man. You know what I mean? And that positive stuff will come right back. And this conversation is an example of that. But yeah, man, never count anybody out, man.
Yeah, no, 100%. Quinelle, man, I appreciate you. Hold on one sec. It's someone's trying to stream. Hold on. My phone's on. Guys, stop gaming over there, wherever you are. Stop twitching. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I really appreciate this episode. Obviously, we have a relationship, and I think your story is going to definitely inspire this next generation. I'm always saying that with the L's. The whole point of this is to share stories, to show how hard it is to get to positions of where we are. Right. Didn't happen overnight. We've always had a passion for music and people, and that's always been our biggest drivers, and just kind of paying it forward. So, Q, I appreciate you, man. Episode 8 of the L's. Thanks for taking the time to chat during this pandemic, and super excited to share this episode with the rest of the community. So, shout out, guys. Stay tuned. We're gonna have Q's info down in the description, and on to the next episode. Talk soon.